Good afternoon, everyone. Pat here, and I was nominated by Timmy BMN to do a My Favorite 6 Guns video. So, this one's a 6 gun, and this one's a 6 gun, and these are my favorites. Have a wonderful day. But no, all joking aside, I actually did bring out what I would consider my favorite 6 firearms that I own. And this one right here is just an old Spisco 12 gauge. This Brazilian made, and you know, there's not a whole lot special about it, but it's sentimental. I've known exactly where this thing has been for the last, I guess, 34, 35 years. It was leaned up in a closet and just sitting there, and basically just reminds me of a simpler time. In the 80s and 90s, you know, we weren't as worried about safety, and this thing just sat in the closet and never caused anyone any harm. But I have it now, and like I said, it is sentimental to me. This one's an excellent card shooter. Let me see if I have a dime in my pocket. If I have a dime, I'll show you. Okay, so just a good old dime. Action is open, it is clear. On a 12 gauge, you can lay a dime right there across the end. That is a full choke. This one's actually an extra full choke. That one fell out. Normally, if it's improved cylinder or whatever, it'll just fall through. But anyway, this one is my number 1 favorite. Okay, so number 2 is my AR15. This isn't necessarily my favorite. This is the one that runs outside when things go bump in the night. This is a Seekins lower, CMC trigger. This is an Adams Arms piston upper, 14.5 inch. Vortex Strike Eagle 1 through 6. So basically I can dial this thing to 6, get things at distance. I can dial it down to 1 and actually use it inside of a room the size of my bedroom. AR15 style rifles, I had these chambered in 300 Blackout, 458 SOCOM, 7.62x39, of course 5.56. This is my favorite platform because of the versatility. Everybody under the sun makes a million accessories and or parts for these, and I love them. Okay, so number 3 is my Remington R1 Enhanced. This is a 1911, chambered in 45 ACP, and this thing is an absolute shooter. I love it. I've owned this thing for, I guess, somewhere around 6 to 8 years. It's gone through a couple of different reincarnations. I've added an Ed Brown match grade threaded barrel, which the Remington R1 Enhanced already comes with a match grade barrel, but like I said, this one's threaded. Now I shoot this thing suppressed all the time. In the many years that I've owned it, it has never failed to fire, never failed to eject. Basically, the only time this thing fails is when we shoot it suppressed, like at Opie's Ugly Sweater Range Day. We shot this thing so much, it just fails to go into battery. That's when you know it's dirty. It just fails to go into battery. No hiccups, no nothing between there and done. It just won't go into battery, and that's it. That's when it's time to put it up, take it home, and clean it. But this is my number 3. Okay, my number 4 right here. This one is a pre-Model 10. It is new-ish, kind of in the box. It's a shooter. It's not dead perfect, but basically this one right here is something like I would want to hand down to my children. I recently acquired this one at a gun show, I guess about a month ago. Yeah, it was right before Christmas, because I told everybody that, hey, I done spent all my Christmas money. Y'all are getting text messages for Christmas. But anyway, this thing right here is my number 4. I guess what I'm going to do is have this one stand for all double action revolvers, because essentially, if you can get used to a double action revolver, you can get used to almost any trigger. That's what I love about shooting double action revolvers. Blame Buffalo, but if you can shoot double action, you can maintain your grip, and you can go through that sweep of that trigger and keep your sights aligned on the target, that right there makes you so much of a better shooter. And the other cool thing is I'm about to get into reloading because of these. So ballistically, this thing right here is making me a better offhand shooter, and it is making me understand more and more about the firearms that I shoot, because I'm about to start reloading. And that makes these, well, I don't know if I should have put this as number 4. I guess just fourth in the list, okay? So this thing should have really been higher. But anyway, this concludes my number 4. Number 5 is the Taurus TX22. This one doesn't stand as any particular category. This stands on its own. This is one of my favorite firearms to date. This was my favorite purchase of 2019 because this thing rocks. I've enjoyed this thing probably more than any other firearm that I own. The reason that I enjoy it but more is because it is reliable. 22 long rifle is economical to shoot. This thing has proven to be a ton of fun with me and the boys, and me and my boys have shot the living daylights out of this thing. We've talked about school, we've talked about life, and just generally connected over this one. So this one is an absolute favorite of mine. So number 6 is actually, I wouldn't even consider it a firearm, but under the NFA, if you get caught with one that is not registered and not serialized, you will be prosecuted as having an illegal firearm. So technically, if the NFA calls it a firearm, I'm calling it a firearm. And see, that is a suppressor. This suppressor was kind of a cool-ish thing for me to get into to begin with. It wasn't necessarily something that I had to have. It wasn't necessarily something that I couldn't live without. It was almost one of those tactical things to where basically only the cool guys had them. But once I purchased my first 2 suppressors, I have learned more about ballistics, subsonic versus supersonic, and what makes them work. It actually, shooting this made me dive further into the world of firearms and ballistics. So I'm going to say that a suppressor is my number 6, not necessarily in that order, but man, these things are fun to shoot. If you've ever had the opportunity to shoot without your earmuffs on, it is a lot of fun. You can sit and have a normal conversation, talk to friends, and actually, I guess, connect with your buddies while you're shooting. And that makes these things really cool to me, just on a fellowship and companionship standpoint. Oh man, look at that. Let's give this thing a gun tan. Yeah, that's how I get those photos that you guys see. But anyway, this one would fall in with number 4. This is my 686. I really enjoy it. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed my 6 favorite firearms video. I nominate Matthew Pearson, my brother from the north. Show us your Canadian gun collection. But for the rest of you, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next video.